Hey there, thanks for watching the Tech Diva tutorials. Today we're going to talk about online marketing for your website and what makes your homepage most effective. So there are three main questions to ask to make your homepage work. And what do I mean by make it work? I mean three things that need to be answered when someone lands on your homepage so that they decide they want to continue to engage with you. You have basically milliseconds to connect with your audience, to engage them enough to capture their interest, and then encourage them to click on to continue engaging with you, whether it's to sign up for something, to buy something, or just read more. So there's three main questions that need to be answered immediately when someone lands on your homepage. And I'm talking like in the top fold of the page. And you want to make sure that you don't bog down the homepage so that these questions aren't answered because there's so many distractions. So what are these three questions that I'm talking about? The first question is, who is this for? So when someone lands on your homepage, you want to make sure that it's really obvious exactly who you're providing something for. Are you speaking to women, to men, people that are over the age of 50, people that are in their teens or 20s? Are you speaking to people that are athletes, business? What type of person are you talking to? And who is your information on your website for? If you intuitively say, oh, but my stuff is for everyone, that's a pretty weak answer because there's so much out there that you become a jack of all trades and a master of none if you don't zero into who specifically is your website for, or what specific problem are you helping to address? Maybe it's a problem that's not specific to any one type of person or demographic, but it's a specific problem, such as, how to put up a website and how to use WordPress, for instance, or how to dress according to your body type, or how to get consulting for a particular problem. Like maybe there's a specific problem, but you want to address who it's for or that specificity as to what you're talking about and who you're talking to immediately on the homepage. The next question you want to answer is, what can I do or get here for your audience, right? What can they do? Can they get information? Can they get a product? Is it a service? You want to speak on their terms and what they're getting out of it rather than who you are and what your credentials are and why, you're glad that they're there to be looking at your information. You want to focus on them and what they can get out of being there on your website. And finally, what's the next step to get it? So for your audience, what's their next step to get that thing that you're offering? And you want to be specific as to what that thing is and then how to do that. So maybe it's a very big, colorful button. Maybe it's an opt-in, like with a name and email for someone to join a list. Or maybe it's an arrow, or maybe it's very clear navigation. But you want to be obvious about what the next step is so that it removes any sort of barrier between your audience and they're clicking to get into the rest of your website so that they can engage with you easily without having to kind of figure out what the next step is. So let's look at three examples. I'm going to show you kind of what I see working for these three different types of websites so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. So here's our first one. This is chriscarr.com. Chris Carr, if you look at this site, when you first land here, I'm not going to scroll down. I'm just going to take what I get without scrolling because that's what you really want to focus on for your audience. So who is this for? Well, by the looks of it, it looks fresh. She has a green drink in her hand. It looks healthy, right? And then there's the word wellness, right? So the crazy, sexy wellness revolution, right? So there's something here that tells me this has to do with health, right? So very, upon immediate, as soon as I first land here, the first thing I get is this is for somebody that's interested in something to do with wellness or health, right? So I kind of have a sense of who it's for. Now, what can I buy or get here? Well, at this point, I can tell that I can get something to do with wellness. I can get a weekly serving of motivation, recipes, and free resources straight to my inbox. Notice that all of this right here, the copy is about me, the visitor, and what I get, rather than who Chris Carr is, right? I can find out who Chris is if I go to the Meet Chris Carr page, or if I want to find it on my own, I certainly can do that. But for right now, it's focused on me and what I'm getting, which is key. And then finally, how do I buy or get or do the thing that I can get here? And that would be pretty obvious here because she's got a big pink bar and then a first name email box and then a hook me up button, right? Like there's pretty much only one main thing I'm focused on here on this homepage without scrolling, and that's signing up to get this thing that she's offering. So it's really obvious who it's for, what she's offering, and how to get it, without me scrolling or anything. I can tell all of that within the first 30 seconds of being on this page. So this website, in my opinion, is answering these two questions pretty effectively. Now let's look at another one. This is for, well, you can figure out who it's for by answering the question. So who is it for? If we look, it says optimizing oil production, artificial lift performance. And then it says, if you would like to maximize your oil production, reduce costs, and have a well-trained staff, we can help you. So immediately I know this has to do with something about oil production, right? So if I have to do with that, if I'm in that industry, this speaks to me immediately to let me know I'm in the right place, right? And if I have no idea what that means, then clearly this website's not going to provide much value for me. So it's pretty obvious straight away who it's for. What can I buy, do, or get here? Right here, I can get free technical papers, get access to our member area, and download some great technical papers. Maybe not the most compelling, but at least I know what I can get here. I'm not saying it's maybe not a great offer, but at least I know what it is, right? And the final question, how do I get it? Here's a very clear button for instant access to get that thing, right? So it's pretty obvious. Even though the offer might be weak, it's still clear what the offer is, and it's clear on how to get it. And then our final example, this is a smartpassiveincome.com blog. And so let's think about who is this for, what can we get, and how do we get it? So who is it for? Smart Passive Income, let's see what works, right? And then we look, I'm the crash test dummy of online business, sharing what works. So immediately I know it has something to do with online business and knowing what works. And probably what works for passive income since it's called the Smart Passive Income blog. So I'm pretty clear on who this is for or what it's talking about. Now, what can I get here? Let's see what works, right? Click here to see income reports. I'm starting to know that what I can get here is what works. I can learn what works with online business, right? It's pretty obvious without me scrolling anywhere what I can get here. I can get information about what works. And finally, how do I get that? Well, here's a very clear button that says click to see income reports. So that's one thing I can get here. I can get income reports to see what works. And right here, I do that with this very obvious green button in the top right. So this is a pretty great example as well of telling me who it's for, what I can get here, and how I get that. So I hope these 3 examples have given you some clues. And now if you look at your own website and see if you can figure out if it's very obvious who it's for or what problem you're focused on solving, how someone can get that information and what information you're giving them, right? Not necessarily in that order, but those are the 3 questions that really make your website way more effective because your user gets it immediately. And that's key if you want them to stay and engage with you and continue being on your website rather than clicking off immediately and never visiting again. I hope this helped, and I look forward to seeing you in other videos.